10 years as a CIO for a Fortune 300 aerospace and defense company. I had the title, the results, the executive development, and I thought I understood leadership. I was wrong. My real education in leadership didn't begin in a boardroom. It began in a medical exam room. I'm not sharing this with you today because my story is unique. I'm sharing because what I learned through the process may be exactly what somebody here today needs to hear. It all began in 2019 around the holidays. I was taking some much needed time off to recharge before stepping into a new divisional CIO role. New opportunity, new team, new vision. I also took advantage of that downtime to schedule a medical exam that I'd been putting off since spring. Have you ever thought you had life all figured out, only to have it turned upside down in a single moment? There are moments that etch themselves into our memories forever. For me, it was waking up in that recovery room, groggy from the procedure, hungry from the lengthy fast, mind set on that cheeseburger with my name on it. Then came the words that changed everything. I'm sorry, you have cancer. Looked at my wife, my rock, and she'd already stepped into action. While I was processing the shock, struggling with the thought of, why me? And what did I do to deserve this? She was taking control, calling friends in oncology, and setting into motion my lengthy treatment plan and lifestyle change, which incidentally would not include that cheeseburger. You see, her purpose was clear, which was to advocate for me to find the best care to achieve the best possible outcome. And her early call to action inspired me through my sulking and confusion and helped me look for something more. It was in those early moments of uncertainty that I was experiencing a lesson on leading with purpose. Her purpose was to get me well. I needed to find my own purpose. Over the days that followed, as I navigated through my own new reality, one thought continued to haunt me. How do I tell my new boss? How do I tell my new team? I was already not comfortable sharing my diagnosis beyond family and a few close friends. And when it came to sharing at work, I feared what it might say about my ability to lead, to take on a new role under these circumstances. How do you lead when your life is hanging in the balance? How do you inspire others when you're fighting for your own survival? Ultimately, I picked up my phone and called my soon-to-be boss. Much to my surprise, his first reaction wasn't about logistics or timelines. It was personal. He shared with me that he was a cancer survivor. He empathized with what I was going through. In that moment of shared vulnerability, I was experiencing a lesson in leadership. This accomplished business executive was authentically relating to me where I was. His shared moment of weakness gave me strength. Strength to face uncertainty, and strength to lead with purpose while healing. Inspired by my conversation with my new boss, I decided to tell my team. And I chose to do so at the end of our very first town hall. I just spent nearly an hour addressing them as their confident and inspiring new leader. But now I was about to share something very personal. My voice faltered. I struggled to hold back tears. I told them about my diagnosis and that I would soon begin treatment. I could see the shock in their eyes. I could feel the weight of their concern. I knew what they were thinking because I thought it too. Cancer, the worst case scenario. But I also knew this. There are stories of hope and inspiration, like the one my boss shared with me. Survival, of strength, of success. In that moment, I needed my team to know that I believed everything would be all right, that I would be there for them, that I could be there for them. Saying it out loud helped me believe it too. It was a pivotal time in our company. We were in a race for a generational aircraft program, and my team was a big part of it, building out the digital solutions and secure infrastructure that would power the future of engineering and manufacturing capabilities. Yet despite the urgency and importance of the mission, some familiar challenges persisted. Too much work, too few people, a heavy reliance on third-party vendors for innovation. Morale was low. Team members felt overlooked, unempowered, disconnected from the work that mattered most. Over the next year, I quietly balanced chemotherapy and surgeries with the demands of leading a digital transformation. Not only was I facing adverse challenges with my health, but the challenges that held the team back from achieving their true potential were real and needed to be addressed. If we were going to succeed, we needed to change. Yet little did I realize at the time, but the seeds of change had already been planted. And it all began in the moments in that town hall. It was in those final moments of authenticity where the foundations for trust, empowerment, and engagement were forged. You see, cancer stripped away the illusion of control. It forced me to lead from a place of vulnerability. And in doing so, I learned something very valuable. Vulnerability builds trust, and trust unlocks innovation. Together, we took on some of the most toughest challenges our team ever faced. We became a high-performing team, and we delivered, meeting the IT requirements that helped our company secure the largest aircraft program it ever pursued. I'd also beaten cancer and became more open about my advocacy, sharing my story more broadly and becoming a volunteer for the American Cancer Society. But shortly after celebrating those successes, I received news that shook me. My cancer had returned. At work, the mission was in full motion. Collaboration was strong. I'd built a team of leaders that could carry the mission on forward even in my absence. Yet despite that, I was committed on staying engaged. Not because they needed me, but because I needed them. I needed the rhythm of routine, the sense of purpose, a distraction from the weight of treatment. Over the next 6 months, with the help of family and friends, I endured chemotherapy, surgeries, and for the first time, radiation. I didn't hit pause on my career. I led through the treatments, led through the uncertainty, and I showed up, not as the polished executive, but as a human being. I emerged from that chapter scarred, frail, but not broken. I was determined to move forward. And just a few weeks later, I did something that I dreamed about forever. I walked my oldest daughter down the aisle. You see, in those early moments of uncertainty, following my initial diagnosis, she'd approached me and asked, should we accelerate an engagement in my wedding so that you can be there to walk me down the aisle? The gravity of those words weighed heavily on my mind throughout both of my treatments. She had just set a wedding date not too soon before receiving news about my recurrence. Determined, I pushed through a lengthy treatment plan with one goal in mind, to be there beside her on that day. And we made it. Her radiant smile at the altar, our father-daughter dance, the laughter and tears shared with family and friends. Those were more than a celebration. They were a moment, a gift, a reminder of how precious time truly is. Just a few months later, after the wedding, I was offered the role of global CIO, the pinnacle of my career. More than a title, it was an opportunity to lead differently in the midst of my health challenges. You see, at that point, leadership had taken on a new meaning for me. It was not just about structure and strategy. It was about people, about trust. That kind of trust started years earlier, voice faltering, sharing my diagnosis in that town hall. That moment of vulnerability changed everything. It forged a bond between my team and I, deeper than most teams ever experience. So when it came to the promotion, stepping into the global role felt less like a new beginning and more like a continuation, a chance to carry forward what we had built together as a team. Looking to make an impact early, I leaned on that trust, and I took a bold risk and challenge by experimenting with digital strategy, looking at generative AI as part of our future solutions. There was no budget. There was no blueprint. There was no necessary skills on the team, which meant no guarantee for success. But I had something far greater than a plan. I had a team that I believed in, kind of team that you could trust enough to take risks. We didn't wait for others to show the way. We moved, we experimented, and we discovered. In a matter of 2 short months, we had deployed one of the first global generative AI solutions in the aircraft services industry. I was finding purpose in my new role, not only as a leader of a function, but also as a survivor, using my platform more broadly to advocate for access to care and early detection awareness. But as fate would have it, my cancer returned, now for the 3rd time. Once again, I leaned on family and friends as I took care of my health with a renewed sense of hope and purpose. Not once, not twice, but 3 times, I faced the grim reality of stage 4 cancer. And 3 times I emerged, not just as a survivor, but as a leader, deeply transformed by the experience. Every treatment, every recurrence, every moment of uncertainty, I continued to show up, not as the perfect leader, but as a vulnerable human. And in doing so, I learned something very important. When you show up as your authentic self, you allow others to do the same. When you lead from a place of vulnerability, you create a safe space for others to lead with courage. As I prepared for this talk, crafting stories, thinking about ideas, and coming up with purpose, I received news that my cancer had returned the 4th time. I didn't step backwards, I stepped forward. I chose to lead rather than retreat. I signed up for a clinical trial, not knowing what each new day would bring, to lead with purpose. So I leave you with this. Whatever you're facing, whatever you're healing from, lead anyway. Lead with heart. Lead with courage. Lead with purpose. Because you might find your story, your strength, provides a light that someone else needs to find their way.